It hadn't started yet.
Now it's started.
Okay. Good. Okay. We're here at Van Allen's attic, playing the organ, playing the hurdy-gurdy, dirty-birdie. I don't know, where are we? We don't know where we are. We got a new camera set up. This is what's called cinema reading extravaganza. Cinema interpretation. New age interpretation. More or less. Oh, the camera's up there. Maybe we ought to lower the camera. It's up kind of high. Raise the bridge. Lower the river. Okay, look at the camera. So we can kind of look at the
You caught me reading my favorite book.
Yes. I hope that works.
Oh!
Bruh.
Actually, both my favorite books.
Don't ever direct, produce, and star in and finance your own show, folks. It don't work.
Yes. You gotta see. You look good.
Yeah, but I'm not looking at myself. Oh, there it is up there. It's a weird angle.
Yeah, but we're doing a different type of show tonight. So.
Yeah, you tell them what it is because I forgot.
I mean, it's the same show.
I'm gonna lower
the same typical show, but we're doing it
Well,
from a different angle.
I got a new camera. Yeah.
Got a new camera. It's fancier and everyone looks good. And perhaps we move that to the side. We could get a better idea because I think half the picture is not on the screen there.
I don't know.
The audience sees it, but we can't see it. So
These pop-ups there keep popping in.
Oh.
Okay, so
Right.
we'll move back equally from the camera.
That's good.
Hi, folks. Hi, hi out there in television land. Up there, the big eye. You should be able to. It'd be nice if you could see this camera. It kind of reminds one of the interface, the lens, and the look of it looks like Hal.
Hal, yes.
Hal's from 2001.
With a big red light in the middle.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Dave. Yeah. He's got a lens and a couple of speakers.
Every week we
I do think the picture is better.
Yeah, every week we reference a different Stanley Kubrick film.
I know it. He's
this week 2001.
He's ingrained in our brain.
Next week The Killing.
Yeah. Did he do? Is that in one of his?
Like his first film? No, his second film. Yeah. His
Really?
Killer's Kiss, Killing.
Was that one before the one with
Kirk Douglas?
Yeah.
That's Paths of Glory. That was the last. That was the first really.
That was his first
good.
one.
No, that was his first really good film.
I thought he
made.
took that over from another director.
No, that was Spartacus, which he took over from Anthony Mann. This is the closest thing to a Hollywood film he ever made is Spartacus.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the typical way. Yeah. He himself didn't care for that film, but actually it's
a pretty good
film. It's a very good film.
But it's all interior.
Yeah, there we go. That looks good.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks great.
Hi.
Look how bright we are.
I know it. It's a
Yeah.
better lens. I mean, a better, more pixels per square inch.
Yeah.
It's a 1080. It's closer to HD, or maybe it is HD.
Yeah.
But the camera, well, you know,
it's almost looks like a Stanley Kubrick movie. Another Stanley Kubrick.
We can almost put it back where we were. We can almost put it back where we were originally.
What?
Which was on
looks good. I mean, I'm all for.
Okay, but it looks. We're not looking at the camera.
Well, you look at the. We're not supposed to look at the screen. We're supposed to look at the camera and look at each other.
Hi.
Hello,
We're
my
friends,
name is.
Yes. Well, we'll play
My name
around
is
with
Kaye
it.
Lazar.
Yes, Kaye Lazar, wherever you are.
By the way,
Either that is Kevin Kravitz, aka Kaye Lazar, or Jonathan Harris. Personally, I prefer Jonathan Harris.
Oh, the pain.
Will you and you clithering clanking booby? Oh, what I could do if I had the world at my feet.
Jonathan Harris,
instead
of
of got
course.
this pusillanimous planet.
You know, Jonathan Harris is famous. Oh, he's famous for playing Dr. Smith on Lost in Space.
Yes, we must educate these millennials.
In case you know who
there.
we're talking about. But the craziest thing about Jonathan Harris was they eventually made a movie which wasn't very good with Gary Oldman playing Dr. Smith, and he actually.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, but you know how they make
his career went kind of into the tank.
But no, Jonathan Harris actually auditioned for the part of Dr. Smith and was very upset that he didn't get the part. He says, "I created this part. I created this part. There should be only one Dr. Smith." And then what happened?
I'm Kramer. Yeah.
And then what happened was, it made the news that they offered him a cameo in the movie just for like they did all the other former. He said, "No, I'm not going to be in a cameo in this stupid movie." So Conan O'Brien got word of this and put him on the show to talk about it, and that you can find that on YouTube. We'll put it in the
comments. You're repeating yourself. I think we talked about this
once before. Yeah. Well, I only have but so many anecdotes.
It's always good copy. Yes, it's good copy. Yes.
Well, you're not supposed to see everything I do because.
No, and I don't like the computer sitting here
Precariously.
You
can put it anywhere.
That's right. We can put the computer
because the computer has nothing to do with
the camera anymore. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Ah, very good. Now I can play with my thing here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what you think it is. Playing with my thing. Yeah. Ugh. Anyway, Go ahead. And we were talking.
Yes, and
about showbiz in general.
Well, actually, I tell you what we did today. Both of us did something very interesting. We both voted.
Oh, you voted today?
Yes,
too?
I voted.
He witnessed my
I was
voting.
his witness. Yes.
Yes. Talk to Hal. Hal is up there. Hal is watching. He's right there. You see him?
Yeah, I see him.
Yes, you see him. Hello, Dave. Hi, Dave.
So we voted, and we both voted absentee ballot. Forget what the president's saying. Absentee write-in ballots, they're the same thing.
The president forgets what he's saying.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to throw a monkey wrench and obfuscate the whole system, throw it all in the chaos.
It's all fake news. It's all obfuscated news. Everything's obfuscated. It's one of my new favorite words, obfuscated.
Obfuscate.
You know where I first learned that word was a very interesting novel by a Southern writer called A Confederacy of Dunces.
Oh.
By Kennedy.
John. Yeah.
Kennedy O'Toole.
Yeah.
A guy from
John Kennedy O'Toole. He only wrote the one book, he wrote two books, but they're both published posthumously. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, he's from New Orleans, and I always thought it'd make a great movie, and I thought John Candy should have played the character.
They've been trying
gravitationally challenged big guy, and I thought John Candy could have been a great.
They actually John Belushi was supposed to.
Really?
There's
they never made a movie.
There's actually a whole long history how that was. Scripts were written, scripts were dropped.
Really?
Yeah,
You know, but
and John Candy. I
wish I'd gotten a chance to write a script. I think I could have done it. I'm good at paring down novels and making a good script out of them. But I read that book when I was suffering away and animating away in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. I was working for a fun company and doing some good work, but I had a crazy marriage. Anyway, won't go into that. But I read that book to give me solace. And petted my dog. I had a new dog, and we go walking with him, and I'd read the book. And it was a very interesting book.
How bad things can get. Read that book. It's actually a very funny book, and his mother published it after he committed suicide because he couldn't get it published. Yeah.
Oh, he couldn't? Yeah. Oh, he was already dead when I read it?
Dead when it came out.
I didn't know that.
And he wrote another book that was I don't know if that was as polished as like a final edited version. But that came out too.
Who is the character? Napoleon something.
Yeah.
Anyway, the main character who's through whose eyes you see the the thing, he gets into the whole idea of obfuscation and how we live in a very obfuscated society. There's a lot going on. In fact, that was sort of the beginning of the whole conspiracy theory movement, I think, because you hadn't really, even the Kennedy thing, well, that kind of started, but that really kind of started that mood, if I remember, and it didn't pick up till later. I was reading that in 1979 or 80. And I was in New Orleans. But
there was a Lincoln conspiracy as to who killed Lincoln. That was popular at the time.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And then of course Roswell was quite the conspiracy.
Well, people didn't dig up on Roswell until the 80s or something. And stuff. It was always around.
Yeah. But the Kennedy put it for the ages.
My dad was into New Orleans. UFO stuff early on.
Yeah.
I used to buy all those books, and about the time that maybe we were abducted. I still say there's something weird happened in 1960 to me and my family, and
you're from outer space.
Well, some little pieces of me are. I don't know. Oh well,
I thought Yuri Gagarin was the first one.
I got friends who believe, along with me. Well, they think that we're reincarnated from another planet, and sometimes I think maybe. I did some experiments on that. It was a woman who was a psychic type of one of our psychic group, and she was a specialist on walk-ins. She was a walk-in. She claimed to be a walk-in.
I don't know what that
well, it's like a soul. You're tired of, let's say you're kind of tired of living.
Yeah.
Almost want to commit suicide.
Every day.
Yeah, right. Well, another spirit comes down and says, "Hello, I'll make you a deal. I'll take over your body and you can move on."
Oh.
And it's a walk-in. And they take over your body, and now you got this new personality. Now, she claimed to be a walk-in, and she showed me a picture from when she was her other personality. And she really looked like a different person.
Wow.
She was very susceptible and feminine. And really, I found the old one more attractive. But the new one had this kind of staring look like an alien.
Yeah, in someone else's body.
Yeah, and she was like an alien or something. Anyway, there were these, not crop circles, but landing sites that I was kind of finding at the time. And there was 2 in my yard, or one in the next door neighbor's yard, and one in my yard. And she came over and we meditated in them, and she was telling me who I was and another.
Oh.
From the Pleiades. It's always from the Pleiades.
From the Pleiades.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, in the 80s, yeah. But who can say, I mean, souls are souls, and your soul can leave your body and be in another body. But that thing was, that site next door was these perfect little leaves, and it formed a perfect circle, and they had these really wonderful smell. It's a certain type of thing that grows on ground cover, and it has this cool smell. And they were in the next door neighbor's yard in perfect circle. And then later on, there was this weird circle in my backyard that didn't exactly show up, but the dog wouldn't go through it.
Yeah.
The dog would circle all the way around it. Whenever we went down to go walking, he would go around the edge for like a whole year.
Even when the leaves were gone?
Yeah. And it finally it wore off or something. There was a bit of a patch of grass, but one night I was convinced that maybe aliens are coming to visit. And I went out there and sat under a tree at like at 4 a.m. to see what might happen. Okay, Mr. Alien, show up.
Like waiting for the great pumpkin.
Yeah, exactly. Good grief, Charlie Brown. But the thing didn't show, no aliens showed up. No. There were some really weird noises at different points, like these screech owls or something. But these bats were flying over that circle in a weird pattern. I could see that they were spiraling up like that.
Oh, wow.
They would get into the circle, these bats, and several of them were going up like a spiral.
Yeah.
Maybe they were affected by the energy. Anyway.
Bats,
Yeah.
That's how you get bats in your back.
I don't delve into that stuff anymore as much, but I still believe in it. But, it can make you crazy. But unless you get a good, well-paying job like Whitley Streiber, then you have to keep it going.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Well, he sold a lot of books. Hey, there's a movie called a book actually called the Amityville Horror.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
That
then-
was supposed to be a real haunting.
Yeah, and then what happened was they made a remake of it years later,
Happened-
and they said, well, "What's the difference between this movie and the earlier ones?" He goes, "Well, the earlier one was based on a true story." Yeah, right.
Well, it was up in Connecticut, I think.
I think what happened with the Amityville Horror was there was a murder. A kid killed his whole family there, and then the family moved in, and then they claimed the house was haunted and everything. And you know, you've seen the movie, you've read the book, you know what it's about. But all the people that have moved in since then said we haven't seen anything.
Well, things like that can happen.
Yeah. The Lutzes, I remember James Brolin and Margot Kidder were in the movie. Yeah.
I've actually seen one ghost.
Yeah.
I've had a smattering of all different types of paranormal things in my life. Not like these card-carrying psychics, but I've had enough to have a bunch of different ones, including out of body and all this.
Yeah.
And but once I saw my next door neighbor after she had died, appear down by the pool in a chair, the same way she used to come. She was an old lady, used to come watch us swim. And I was getting ready to go to Canada, and I went down there, and I saw something. I turned around, and there she was sitting there with her legs crossed the same way, and kind of a grayish, slightly transparent.
Like a hologram looking thing?
Well, more like a double exposure in a camera, you know, slightly transparent and kind of black and whitish or grayish against dark green foliage.
Okay.
It was like she showed up against the dark green foliage.
Like a movie projection, kind of?
Well, kind of like that. Kind of like a slide projector, but she was in real life. And the minute I looked at her, it disappeared.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't thinking about her or anything. I was just trying to get a swim and relax before I went to Canada.
Yeah.
And there she was.
And there she was.
Yeah. Ms. G.
She didn't say anything to you?
No, she just sat there like an image and then disappeared. And another time she communicated, one time I was really, really sick. I had bronchitis for the first time. And I've never gotten it that bad since, but it's kind of genetic. But I was really felt like I was on the verge of, I was trying to fight for my life. And she was dead at that time, and I was alone in the house, and I heard, only it was a piano. It was like, it was a note on a piano.
Yeah.
Heard it twice. And I said, what was that? Who could play the piano? And I remembered the note, and I staggered in there to find the note, and it was G.
G.
And her name, we called her Ms. G.
Ms.
Her
G.
name was Ms. Gibson, but we called her Ms. G.
Nice.
That was our nickname for it. It was like her coming through.
How about that?
Yeah.
Now.
And, okay, that's enough.
Actually, speaking of weird stuff, you had a dream about you the other night.
Oh, I like dreams.
Yeah,
I'll analyze
You
it.
won't believe what the dream was about. We appeared on a show together doing a routine, and I think
I have a dream about you, too, a little
yeah,
while back.
but listen to this. This is the cool part about it was, I don't think we ever got to the point where we did the routine. We were just waiting and seeing all the other acts before us. It was the Ed Sullivan Show.
Right here.
Right here.
Yeah. Hey, that's the big time.
But
We're making the big time.
But, you know, like a lot of dreams, it isn't until you wake up and say, wait, Ed Sullivan is dead.
Yeah.
But it was in, like, modern day, and what it was they brought back the Ed Sullivan Show, and he was like you were mentioning the ghost woman. It was like a hologram of him introducing all these people, new acts.
You can see through him. You see through him.
I don't know if you can see, but you could tell it was like flickering, like Max Headroom.
You know, maybe
but it was him. Yeah.
Maybe someday we'll be able to project souls from the other side, and I'm coming to you via the new technology. Whoopee of Solarama.
That's not unprecedented because
Now I'll put it in my book. That's a good idea.
Yeah, and they did actually a show. They remember they did a reboot of the Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and they just colorized the original beginnings of his show.
Well,
and,
that's from film, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess they were doing in my dream the same thing to the Ed Sullivan show.
What are we anyway? What are we really? You're getting deep here, deep, and when we are born and when we die, where do we go? Where do we come from? And when a little kid is born, he's born with a personality. He's born with talents that came from somewhere. Each one is different. Even animals, they all have a specific little personality there.
DNA.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But it's not. It's more than DNA. DNA is just the building blocks. Yeah. It's like the circuitry of the computer. But what does the awareness? What is the awareness? The sense of the soul. What is consciousness? Is another word for it.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. What makes you inside that body looking at me, and me in this body looking at you, and everybody else? I mean, something is in there doing the looking. All right, you got a brain, hopefully. All this stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
The rumor has it.
That does all its workings, and creates pictures and sound and everything. But something's at the tiller in there, or is experiencing it, like RoboCop. And then when science comes along with subatomic particle theories and all this kind of thing, I believe that
Atoms?
and everything's electric.
Yeah.
We're mostly space and electricity, electrons and protons. It's all just energy.
We could be short-circuited, I heard.
Yeah, they're
in the situation.
I stuck my finger in a light socket one time. You wouldn't believe. I did.
Yeah.
Over at Larry Acre's house, and luckily my feet were off the ground, and I just got a big shock.
Yeah.
And then we watched Shock Theater right after that. But it was like, it would have threw me.
Yeah.
And I think if my feet had been on the ground, it might have gotten me.
Yeah.
But my uncle, I've said this before, my uncle Roland, who was a electrical engineer for NASA and worked on the first Sputnik, not Sputnik, but America's Vanguard, our first satellites, and all the way up through the space shuttle.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. And he told me that, and this guy worked with the top of the line electronics, He said that we don't even know what electricity is.
Yes.
We can work with it, we can step it up, we can step it down, do all these things with it, but we really don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the force.
Yeah.
And what's going on, I believe souls are like matrices of that power that come together and are formed and make a personality, and you live and you die and you leave the body and you go elsewhere and you do all these other things. And it's subatomic particles. Because you could, and that's what makes a ghost work, I think. And they can pass right through you, supposedly, or you ever have that, and that's because they're so much smaller than the atoms of the physical world. They can, but have you ever had the feeling of a ghost, like your grandmother might have said, that's a rabbit passing over your grave? A rabbit jumping over your grave?
No.
You never had your grandma never said that?
No.
Your mother? Well, my mother said it. My grandmother and my mother.
My mother's very religious.
But, well, even if they're not religious, they might have folk wisdom or folk, what do you call it? Superstitions.
Yeah.
And they're based on something. And when you get that feeling, like a whoa, you ever have that?
I get a chill up my spine.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, I really thought it was more of I was cold.
Well,
or I was nervous.
It can, it can happen in a hot day. That I think is often, and some of the psychic people say that's a spirit passing through your body.
Okay.
Or it might be
a lot of spirits out there.
Yeah. Oh, they're all around us.
They're all around us.
And pay attention
like
to
Santa
those.
Claus.
Pay attention to those dreams. I had a dream about us doing a show. I can't remember what it was now, but one thing is my dreams have gotten too detailed in recent years, and they tire me out because I practiced remembering dreams all my life. I used to keep dream diaries. But now my dreams will play out, and it gets to the end of the dream, and I keep trying. It's like a video on YouTube. I keep trying to make it go further, and it keeps playing the last scene over and over again. Does that happen to you? Yeah. And each time it plays like over. It's a little bit different, but it's the same thing. And he walked to the door, and he picked up a vase of flowers, and he walked to the door, and there was a flower down on the floor, and he walked to the door, and some flowers fell on his head, and it's something like that. And it just keeps, you're getting a broken record mode at the end of the dream, and it won't go any further. Yeah. It's like somebody downloaded it. Yeah. And that's it.
And and there's no ending to it. It just keeps repeating.
Well, whatever it is was supposed to come through is finished, and you can't make it go any further, and you might as well get up.
I had there's, speaking of dreams, there's a theory, and it's been in a few movies. Inception's probably the best example, where they send assassins to kill you in your dreams while you're asleep, because if they kill you in your dreams, you'll die of a heart attack and die. You always hear that if you're falling off a cliff or something in your dream, you always wake up before you land, because if you would have landed, you would have died of a heart attack. I've actually died in a dream, and I was at my own funeral, and then I woke up and said, "Oh, I'm still alive." Well, that only happened once though.
I had a similar thing. Yeah. Where of course, I'd heard that same thing, and I was always fascinated by it, and but I woke myself up by doing that. Yeah. I jumped off a cliff purposely because I was working on a railroad. I had the bed right over there, and there was a big our HO train layout, and I dreamed I was on the train layout working on the tracks.
All the live long day.
All the live long day, and I was so tired working on the coal mine work, and I was hammering and hammering. I'm tired of this. And then I thought to myself in the dream, I said, well, they always say if you fall off a cliff, you'll wake up before you hit the bottom. So why don't I go over and jump off the cliff? And I jumped off the table when I was only about that tall, and the table was like that tall. Yeah. So anyway, I jumped off the cliff, and I woke up.
And you woke up.
And I got myself out of that dream. So proud of myself. But it was a wild. I had a lot of weird experiences back then. They can come out at other times.
I've had dreams where I meet celebrities. I like to meet celebrities and take pictures of them and everything.
I know that.
But the thing is that there are dreams where I've met celebrities and I can't get my camera working. It's broken or something. Somebody said that's a sexual dream.
Well. And I dreamed I was in Ireland the other night in my underwear. Ireland was so beautiful. It was green, and the old stone walls. It was so crisp and true to life and realistic. And I was in my underwear. I was trying to ride a bike, and the girls were around there. So it's always.
Were you embarrassed, or you didn't care in the dream?
Slightly embarrassed. Yeah. This isn't right. This isn't right. And then I was back home in the west end of Richmond, or like the outer fan, and riding around and hanging around with these black girls who were getting their hair fixed, and Mariah Carey, and they were all playing real funky music. Yeah. And I was kind of flirting with them. They were kind of flirting with me, and Mariah Carey came out, and they were getting their hair fixed in somebody's apartment. Yeah. Mariah Carey was hiding herself. She didn't want to be recognized. And then I was on a bike, and then suddenly I was in my underwear again.
You had that dream a lot when you were a kid. You were naked.
And everybody else was having sex on their bikes, but I was in my underwear.
But I remember meeting a woman who is a nude model in college. And I said, what's it? In real life? No, in real life. And she told me, and so I said to her, she was actually my girlfriend. I actually said, "What is?"
I drew nude models.
Yeah, you know what it's like
in art.
Well, that's what I mean. You know what nude models are. I mean, every school has them, and in fact, most like
got some drawings over here.
Usually the VCU or one of these places that has a dance major. The dancers are usually the best nude models because they take such good care of their bodies. Now, with the craziest thing, I said to this woman, I said, "What's it like being a nude model?" And she goes, "Well, I'll tell you one thing."
Kind of cool.
No, she said, "I'll tell you one thing kind of weird about being a nude model." I said, "What's that?" She goes, "You know that dream that you're naked?" He says, "Yeah." After you're a nude model, you never have that dream again because you've lived the dream.
Well, we used to draw those models because you learn to draw the figure, and I've got them stashed away. Someday I'll show them. But there was one.
Bring them next week.
Yeah, I got one. She was really cute.
Yeah.
She was very, very good looking. But we had other types of models too. There was this one old bag lady that would come in.
Oh yeah.
And believe it or not, that's very good drawing lessons, and it's easier to draw somebody with a lot of folds to it, and
big belly button.
What they call contour drawing, contour lines.
Yeah.
And I got one of her too.
Yeah.
But I got pretty good at drawing either one. But I mean, that's a certain type of drawing that's good for the artist. I mean, you get the kind of, it's like the landscape of the mountains and all the hills and the valleys and down in the stalactites and what have you. But
also about dreams. I used to have these dreams when I was in college that I was levitating and floating in the world and everything. Now, I told that to somebody, and they said, that's a terrible dream. I said, what do you mean? I was having a lot of fun in my dream, floating and looking down and everything.
That's supposed to be a freedom kind of dream.
But he told me that if you have dreams that you're levitating, what it's really meaning is your current life on Earth is very miserable, and all you want to do is fly away from your problems.
No, I think it's therapeutic. Besides, I don't believe that.
And I was miserable.
Well, maybe so. There are books and websites that give you the meaning of dreams, but I think that they can vary a lot with the individual. Yeah. You have to analyze yourself and what does this mean to me. Now, there are certain what you might call archetypal dreams, like Carl Jung would talk about, that are basic to almost all humanity that you can talk about and refer to, but it's still an individual thing.
Yeah.
Like jumping off a cliff to me might be fun, whereas it might be really scary to a girl down the street.
Yeah.
Or eating a pumpkin all at once with whipped cream, might be something. I don't know.
I eat a lot of crazy stuff in dreams too. Stuff I'd never eaten.
Yeah, I dreamed I ate a giant marshmallow one time, and I woke up and my pillow was gone.
Yeah.
But I'm bumped.
Yeah.
But talking about dreams, my grandfather, Van Allen, was quite an interesting, weird character who had interesting, strange experiences.
Yeah.
Including, he claimed to have seen an angel on a bridge in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Nowhere else but Pittsburgh, mind you. Now that's unique. But he was a bit of a mystic. He was an inventor. He was a little bit strange, but he was kind of goofy, kind of a nice guy, and he was bitten by a steam locomotive. Bitten. Hand me that train. I got a few objects. Got a few objects to go along with.
This is a nice train.
The story. It is. I always wanted. Well, it's broken. I found it. I got it real cheap somewhere, and I always.
There's no cow catcher though.
This is gone. The front end is gone. Yeah. The old 97 with the ding, dang, ding, 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 ding. This does look like the old 97 engine quite a bit. Yes. There's some old photographs. But he was born in the 1870s, and then he would struggle from job to job, and he was... He may have been half Indian. We're still negotiating that in our family, but he went out and worked on the railroad in various places across the United States, in California, and finally ended up on the Pennsylvania Railroad. But one day he was working on these things, the drive wheel, the drive shaft. He was cleaning up in there.
Yeah.
Can I get it on camera? Oh, the camera's up here. Okay. He was sitting. He was sitting on the drive shaft there, like Buster Keaton in that film. He was sitting there, but he had his legs stuck up in there, and he was sitting there cleaning something. Yeah. And the engine had a head of steam on it. It wasn't being run, but the engineer came along. It was sitting in the yard, and the engineer got in there and began to start it up. While my grandfather was sitting there with his legs draped over the drive shaft, and it started turning, and he screamed bloody murder, as you might say, you might think, and the guy stopped it just in time,
Yeah.
but it broke both his legs, kind of shattered both of his legs.
He didn't lose his legs.
No,
Yeah.
no, but he was in a cast, in a full body, half body cast for a whole year.
Yeah.
And walked with a cane for the rest of his life.
Never the same. Yeah.
But, well, he had got him a cushy job. The railroad, Pennsylvania Railroad, kind of rewarded him or whatever. Anyway, he gave him a desk job after that. And he was good with math and figures. And he invented a whole system to keep track of all their rolling stock, their cars on the entire Pennsylvania Railroad. He would be like a manned computer, like one of those charts like you see, like the old stock exchange.
Oh yeah.
Well, he invented one that would take only. Took 11 men to keep track of that thing.
Yes.
And he reduced it to 2 men.
Yeah.
He came up with another version that would only take 2 men, but they wouldn't buy it because the unions.
Yeah.
You put too many people.
Yeah, to work.
Yeah, and then he tried to sell it to other railroads, and they said, "Well, why wouldn't the Pennsy buy it?" The Pennsylvania Railroad. And anyway, so he was like my grandfather Anderson, D. Wally Anderson. He was also an inventor. Everybody was trying to be an inventor back then.
Yeah.
And he had a few inventions.
Build a better mousetrap.
Yeah, that was it.
The world will come to your door.
Yeah, that was my grandfather Anderson's slogan for his business. Yeah. Get down the big brown object there.
What
the big wooden thing?
This yoke. Oh man!
Now this
fancy hat box.
Yeah. None of my grandfather Van Allen's inventions ever sold, but he patented about 3 different things, and this was one of them.
It's like a giant bottle cap.
Yeah, it's not a toilet seat. No, it's a toilet seat with gears. It's got gears in it. It's a time travel machine.
Time travel.
Here,
toilet.
try it on. This thing comes off. You can both wear one. Whoa. Oh, my glasses.
Your glasses were in there. Your glasses from the future.
Yes, they came from the future. No, we went back in time.
You get cataracts.
They're pince-nez glasses like FDR used to wear. But this was a hibachi.
Lanto!
Yeah. Let me explain what the thing it is. Let me explain what it is. All right, you see the gears here. There were gears in it.
Yeah.
And I'll try to put it back. And they actually made one. It was made out of cast iron. This is the wooden model that you would file or with the patent office, I think. But we got it. I don't know why it's here. I guess he got it back from the patent office. Anyway, it was a working model to show how it would work, and I've got the patents somewhere.
No, how was it?
Well, what it had, there's parts of it missing. They're a little shish kebab. They were like all these shish kebab things pointing out here. And this thing was made of cast iron. And you'd build a fire down in here. You'd work it in the back. You'd sit in the backyard. Yeah. This is like ideas for backyard barbecue. Yeah. Of course, he did it back in the 20s. So. Yeah. But there was a little jigger. Hey, got a little jigger here. It would flip back and forth, and you'd tie a string to it, and you could sit in a lawn chair and just kind of pull it like that, and it would make the little barbecue things twirl. Yeah. It would go chinky, 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 and that way the kebabs would get all turned. Yeah. It would turn them and be cooked evenly.
It doesn't take that long to cook, though.
Yeah, and maybe it was a bad idea.
Also,
but it was very interesting.
I tell you why it failed was this is made out of wood.
That's
and
right.
You're going to build something that they set on fire. Yeah. Don't make it out of wood.
No, but they actually they had a working model made out of cast iron, and my dad and his his brothers used to cook on it. Okay, and it worked. You know, and you would sit there and pull it with a string, and it would go click up, click up, click up, and the little barbecue bobs would go around. Maybe it was too esoteric and strange to sell, but it did work. And
I guess he was trying to cash in on that big shish kebab wave that was coming in the future.
That's right. Yeah, he was trying to be predictive about the shish kebab.
We already got a skewer terrarium ready to go.
Just in time for the shish kebab crash of 1921.
Yeah, I know.
Went down with Warren G. Harding.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to see shish kebab on TV shows and stuff. I thought you ate them when they were on fire. They were always up in flames.
Oh yeah, that was poured that stuff.
So how do you swallow? You have to be a sword swallower and a fire eater at the same time.
And they had that the baked Alaska. They have ice cream, cake, ice cream within cake, and and you pour alcohol on it and set it on fire.
Yeah.
What's the logic in that? It sure makes an impression. Yeah.
There's a creme brulee is on fire, and flambe, whatever that dessert. Yeah.
Hand me that. I don't know.
Oh,
Use the. This is just another railroad item. He wasn't his.
Becoming like Atlas Shrugged with all the railroad.
Yeah, this is a railroad lantern. I bought that at a a flea market, but it's a nice old antique railroad lantern with a red glass, and they would hang this at the end of the train. Ding ding ding.
Yeah.
Or else they'd hang it in the red light district down at the end of the street
in New Orleans.
But that's a cool thing. I like it.
That is cool.
And
I was obsessed when I was growing up with lanterns for some reason. I guess the flame.
I was obsessed with lanterns and old telephones.
Old telephones.
I always wanted an old telephone.
You know what I always wanted when I was a kid? The party line, where you got to talk to everyone in the neighborhood. And my mom said, "You don't want that because you can't really. Everyone listens to your conversations."
We had one. Yeah. It was late. One of the last party lines, and it was just us and one other neighbor.
Yeah. And
it was Peaches, this old lady who was my friend's grandmother, Peaches Brown, and she had been governess to the governor of Virginia back in the 20s, and she had
the governor had a governess
for his children, and Peaches had and she had seen the ghost of another ghost story, the ghost of the Capitol governor's mansion, which is well known. And it was a lady in white or gray on the staircase or something like that. And she told me about seeing that. And she was a nice lady, very nice lady. And she had a garden and lived in a little cottage out back of her daughter-in-law's, my friend's house. And but she was on our party line. And she wasn't on the phone very often, but every now and then you'd pick up the phone and there she is saying, "Yes, Elvira, and we were talking about going down to the store," you had some little old lady conversation, and then you're in a hurry and you want to make a phone, and there she's talking about that, and you can't tell her to get off.
Yeah, enough doctor talk.
Yeah, that's party line. For you. That's what a party line's like.
Yeah. So that was pretty. I've only been to the governor's mansion once. I saw Governor McCullough. They give away cookies once a year at the. Around Christmas time, you see
the cookies. You just line up.
But you line up and you meet the governor, whoever it happens to be.
Are the cookies any good?
Yeah, they're like the
homemade.
No, they're more like Toll House.
Mrs.
Fields cookies. They might be out of a box, but even if they're out of a box, they're still pretty good.
Yeah,
Mrs. Fields cookies.
Ghostly music.
Hey,
a ghostly interlude.
the ghostly duo.
Yes.
Remember the ghostly trio from Casper the Friendly?
Yeah. Well, we've gotten a little ghost. Yeah. Oh. I mean, he had a jazz band.
Yeah, he had a jazz band. It was weird, or a band.
I like Spooky. Spooky with him.
Spooky,
he was a good one. He was a funny one, but
and there was Wendy the Good Witch.
Yeah,
they were weird.
We've certainly gotten a bit Halloweeny, which is it's October. Why not?
Yeah,
we're moving into that mood. That mood.
Next week we'll talk about skeletons.
Yeah,
I asked a kid, "Are you afraid of skeletons?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Inside your body is a skeleton," and that really freaked her out.
I almost bought a plastic skeleton at Kroger's last night. It's a skeleton of an octopus, which doesn't have a skeleton. There's no bones in that.
It's all It's all guts.
Yeah, I might buy it anyway. Anyway,
I once saw an octopus, and,
Yeah.
and in the wild, in the water.
In the water.
I was in Key West,
Yeah.
and
I don't know if I've ever seen one or not.
I
Seen one at the
and I
at
went
the
scuba
aquarium.
diving. I went scuba diving, and they take you a mile into the from the beach, so you're actually with animals. But the only exotic animal I saw was an octopus, which was kind of cool.
Wow.
but it wasn't an octopus like the one in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That scared the hell out of me when I was a kid.
That was a squid. Anyway.
That was a squid.
That was a hot.
But I assume
That was a hell of a lot of calamari. We could corner the calamari market with that thing. That was good. I love that thing. That didn't scare me. I was fascinated. How the hell they do that?
Yeah.
Beautiful effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie. Oh, Whale of a Tale, Whale of a Tale. I got the old 78 from that. Which Kirk Douglas sang it, but I got the Sons of the Pioneers. And they did a beautiful job.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a whale of a tale, whale of a tale, whale of a tale, whale of a tale. Oh, yeah. It's a whale. Dun, 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 ding, 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 ding.
That's a good. And Sons of Pioneers were great.
I
had that Cool Water and Tumbling Tumbleweeds, the record when I was a kid.
Hear them tumbling down, plunging their love to the ground.
I loved all those cowboy songs.
When you
as a kid. Yeah.
When you went out in that skin diving boat?
Yeah.
Did they play any music like?
No.
Started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship.
Yeah. Why were the
mate was a mighty sailor?
Why did the Howells have so much money with them? Were they going to the Cayman Islands? Were they like?
Did they actually bring it with them, or they just used it for barter?
There's actually
used their position. Yeah, they did have a lot of money.
They actually showed one episode where they're hanging it up on a line to dry.
Well, they probably always brought some to have in a valise, just in case they run into trouble.
Actually, I was getting really weirded out by Gilligan's Island at one point because it suddenly dawned on me there's an odd number of people there. They're all kind of odd, but there was like 4 men and 3 women, which meant one man didn't have a girlfriend.
That's right.
So anyway, I was trying to crunch the numbers.
One of them was married.
So for the Howells, you just discount altogether because they're together. So then you worry about who gets Ginger and Marianne.
Sometimes they had guest stars
but
that wash ashore.
They always left without them, I remember. But there was Ginger and Marianne and 3 men to fight over her. Yeah. So one guy didn't get a girlfriend.
But then you know where they weren't going to go for the skipper. He's big and friendly, but he's too big. Gee, little buddy.
But but
it's all frustration all around because then there's Gilligan, who's kind of nerdy and can't quite get it together, and then there's the professor who only thinks about his math.
Yeah.
What? Oh, yes. I guess you do look pretty good, Ginger.
It was
hadn't really.
It
didn't occur to me.
Oh, Ginger was the best.
But I like I like Marianne better in that show, but Ginger, have you ever seen her in God's Little Acre?
Oh yeah, something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Come on down to God's Little Acre, fare thee well, fare thee well. Come on down to God's Little Acre, fare thee well.
She was still around, Tina. But so then I started to figure out.
So was Marianne.
So I was trying to figure it out, and it actually dawned on me that I had to think outside the box with Gilligan's Island. You have the Howells.
They're on an island. They're not in a box.
No, but and then you said about them being nerdy and stuff.
They're
gone. No one gets pregnant.
I've seen the lagoon. I've been to the lagoon.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
The Universal tour. It used to be on the.
Yeah. Were you shipwrecked?
No, in the Universal tour, I fell off the bus. Then the big rubber jaws shark comes up.
It'd be funny if you were like at the Pirates of the Caribbean at the Disney World and you fall off that boat and you wind up and you swim to shore and it's Gilligan's Island. You're stuck there until someone rescues you. Where's the professor? I need him. I need him to build a computer out of a coconut.
And they shot some location shots in Hawaii for the early episodes, but most of it's on the backlot Universal on the lagoon.
So I was thinking outside the box, and I figured it out. Those those last 5 people, how it works out is it's not that each one of them gets Marianne and Ginger. Gilligan and the skipper are gay lovers. And then the professor gets his choice of Marianne and Ginger, which puts him in the best position ever.
He's so tied up with his science that he invents an atomic vibrator and gives it to him for a Christmas present and thinks he's satisfied everybody.
Well, actually,
excuse me, I got to get back to my equations. You know, he was in a lot of movies.
Yeah, he's in The Creature of Black Lagoon. No, It Came from Outer Space. He's in that though. Made by the same.
No,
director.
that was.
In fact, the same director I think directed Gilligan's Island, Jack Arnold.
Well, what did he play? Oh, he played one of the guys that got zombified.
I don't remember.
He's not the main. He's not the lead though. That's another.
That's Richard Carlson.
And that was written by Ray Bradbury, my friend.
Your friend. Who was that question on Jeopardy?
He never wrote the screenplay. He just wrote a treatment, a story, and sold it to them.
This is what Came from Outer Space.
Came from Outer Space, which is a very good story.
Yeah,
and it has the Bradbury touch.
Yeah.
Did Jack Arnold direct that?
Yeah,
I met Jack Arnold too.
Yeah.
Who did The Incredible Shrinking Man?
Yeah.
And The Creature.
Yeah.
I think. He's a cool guy. He was fun to talk to.
Oh, what was he like? I don't know who's ever met Jack. I didn't even know what he looked like.
Well, I got one. It's kind of one of those slightly, kind of adventuresome guy, kind of like Gene Roddenberry. Only he had silver hair, kind of wavy. Looked like a bit of an adventuresome kind of guy. Gets outdoors, and he told us a story about how they created the water drops on The Incredible Shrinking Man, those big giant water drops.
Yeah.
It came down.
That was great, yeah.
Well, condoms filled with water.
Giant
condoms. I guess it was.
Where they filmed them close up.
They were probably the sheepskin variety.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were on a big wheel. So they had to look like, he wanted them to look like real water drops.
Yeah.
Which and they put them on a wheel so they would be timed right, so they would come at the same timing.
Yeah.
And they were tied on there, and up above the set, were placing these condoms full of water.
Wow.
And they would come around, and when they would come around, they would drop.
It was ingenuity in those days.
And they didn't use computers or anything.
Yeah,
that's just good design. Good design. Of course, the spider was a tarantula, filmed up close, but it was beautifully done.
Yeah,
and you'd get into it. You really get into talk about being
great special effects.
Talk about getting the fear heebie-jeebies I got when that spider's coming to get him, and he has to find something. He finally finds a nail. And he has to hide in the matchbox, and the matchbox is beautifully done. It looks like a real brand of matches, and it's the script has a philosophical
has a weird ending.
It's about the universe. It's like, what are we all here for? It is blending horror, sci-fi, and philosophy and transcendental thought process. That's when a movie really hits all the buttons.
It has an open ending, and there's no real ending to it. He just gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, it's like, what can you do? Yeah, what can you do? I mean, they could never bring him back. How could they? Yeah. And the poor cat. I don't know what happened to the cat. Did they kill the cat? They must have killed the cat.
Wow. So what? So were you introduced to Jack Arnold by Ray?
No. I went to this really cool convention, one of the early science fiction fantasy conventions, one of the first ones ever done. And Steve Seagal and I think another guy, when we went out there to Tucson just to see, because everything was there.
Yeah. What else you see there?
Johnny Weissmuller was there.
Oh wow!
Remember, I heard him. Jack Arnold was there. Friz Freeling was there. Harlan Ellison was there. We couldn't wait for him to shut up. And
he's still talking.
He's still talking.
Dead, and he's still talking.
Yeah. and the set for Star Trek was there, and the machines from Frankenstein were there, and they were in operation, and in color, and you cannot believe how gorgeous they are. Yeah. They were purplish. They put out this ozone
Yeah.
deep purple, deep green, yellow. I've got some photographs.
Yeah.
Not too bad a photograph. It was kind of dark, but I captured that color, just snapshots. But it would have been cool if somebody had actually made a movie with them in color.
Yeah.
And I don't think they ever did. But you never would have thought.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had added something to them or not, but they really had this great color of the ozone. The air would turn purple and green and yellow all around them.
I was a big.
And they were working. They were called the strict Fadden machines.
I know what you're saying about. I used to collect a lot of movie memorabilia.
There's a lot of other. Scotty was there. Everybody. Was there.
And I had still those pictures you just see in movie theaters about the movie stills, I guess they're called, next to the poster.
Yeah, I got a few of them.
Yeah, and Young Frankenstein was filmed on a lot of those same sets you're talking about that they made the original Frankenstein on.
Yeah, or they tried to.
I think they used a lot of that same.
I think they torn them down. Yeah, he worked very hard at getting that look.
So what
he did use the strict Fadden machine.
But what was really neat though was these photos I bought of memorabilia, and they didn't know what they had. These were color pictures from the set of Young Frankenstein for the movie theaters to be put alongside,
lobby cards.
Lobby cards. That's exactly what they're called. And they're in color, and they look wonderful. If they would have made the movie in color, it still would have been a good movie.
Yeah, but
they made it in black and white to look like
he was
movie.
paying tribute to James Whale, which to me it's still the best way they've made it. But there could have been another version, though. Of course, they did those Hammer films, which are kind of.
They're always in color.
Yeah,
blood red.
Too much blood. They're pretty cool. Yeah. But you could do it with that real film noir look, and but I was struck by those machines.
Yeah,
I didn't expect them to be there.
Yeah,
and they were running and everything.
Tesla coils and everything.
Yeah. I got a friend who can make those things.
Yeah, that's something else.
Jeez.
You could get. There was a time at Spencer's Gifts you could buy a Tesla coil or something that looked enough like it in your apartment, and I actually had something like that. And I would buy that. I would buy lava lamps. I would buy anything lit up. LEDs.
Hand me those flags.
The craziest thing is
in the future the American flag will be like this. It'll go. It'll be the futuristic American flags. Okay.
When you buy enough stuff at Spencer's Gifts, your place starts to look like Spencer's Gifts. That's what they don't tell you. You only have one or two lit up signs there.
Spencer's has gone through its ups and downs. Sometimes it's cool. Sometimes it's a little disgusting. But
because of this pandemic, I don't go to stores like I used to. So I go once in a while to a store like Spencer's Gifts or somewhere, or like a clothing store. And I found out something. I have everything I need. I don't want to buy anything else.
Tell me about it. I got this house full of heirlooms and junk, and I want to make movies. I got all the props I need.
I got to show you this tie.
Yeah, I'll put it up there.
Look at this tie.
Make sure it gets sharp.
And the
See
reason
how sharp that camera
they're great.
gets.
And the reason why I wore this tie is I made this tie with a spirograph. No, I didn't. But I tell you, when the first time I saw it, I said, I got to show this to Keith because he probably remembers the spirograph when he was a kid.
Well,
it was one of my favorite toys.
You know what I did, though? Yeah. I didn't have one. I always wanted one. But you could go to Virginia Beach on the boardwalk. Yeah. And there would always be this guy doing spin art.
Yes.
And he said, here, $1.50, get your own painting. Pour your own paint on there. He hits the button and it starts spinning around. Yeah. And it goes splattering everywhere. Yeah. You got a Jackson Pollock.
Yeah, it was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. And I hit the button. He likes to put thinner. He always wanted, wait a minute, I'll put paint on there, and he adds thinner to it with a squirt of thinner. Well, I hit my button before he did it. Oh, wait a minute, you were supposed to add the thinner, and it stopped, and it came out beautiful.
Yeah, better than...
Yeah, it had all this granular look. Yeah. I still got it around here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always talking about stuff that I don't have to show, but anyway, it came out great without the thinner, and it had all this beautiful grainy look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved all that art stuff as a kid. Paint by numbers. I used to have watercolor.
They had some great art shows down there, too.
Yeah, I just... Where did I go wrong? Now I just want to, watch television. Those days,
We got slides
stuff.
of got slides of those old art shows. I'll have to digitize it and show it to people. Some good stuff.
Yeah.
Dad and I and Mom and Dad and Uncle Ralph. Uncle Ralph was always there, and he and my Aunt Virginia were always kind of at each other's throat. You know, it was kind of like Liz and Dick. You know, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton.
And married twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Uncle Ralph and Virginia finally broke up, but they never got divorced, but they had his and hers houses. Yeah. They would still go out together, but he was in his house and she was...
That's a happy marriage.
Yeah. And,
different houses.
But when he was sick and tired of what she was saying or what he didn't agree with, he told a lot of good jokes, but he would go, and he's walking along in his plaid shorts and his white socks and his weird tennis shoes, purple tennis shoes, and his pipe, and he'd go, Uncle Ralph, he was one of the characters of our family.
What happened to him? Is he?
All my family all have died. Yeah. All my parents' generation have gone, but they were so old. Yeah. And they lived a very long time. Yeah. And my mother was the last one. She died at 101. Her sister died at 102. Yeah. And I grew up with all that sense of time. And I grew up with a lot of people that were born before the 20th century started. Yeah. My grandmother, and I didn't know either of my grandfathers, but my grandmothers, I knew all of those.
How old was your father when he passed?
He was 93. He was just a few days short of making 93. He was born in 1914. Yeah. Like when Woodrow Wilson was around. Yeah. And Mom was too. She was born 1915. Yeah. And they had a marriage that lasted 69 years. Yes. It was like time stood still around here. Yeah. And I have this sense of a weird time warp in my whole like I get to talking to this really old lady at the supermarket, and I'm not interested in getting involved, but I can talk to her because she talks like my mother and my aunts. I remember W.C. Fields. I remember the houses with the high ceilings, and
you know what, I meet people,
but I have a huge sense of time.
Funny you say about talking to people, because I meet people and I have affinity with them, and I'll talk about the good old days or something, and then I'll realize that they're probably 20 years younger than me. And I mean, and they don't know anything.
But don't stop doing that. Don't stop doing that, because being an anachronism is good. I mean, you keep the culture going, keep tendrils of connection to. I mean, America's been too much of a throwaway culture for too long, since the '60s especially. It was like build it, tear it down, throw it away. Build it, tear it down, throw it away. Whereas in the Gothic times or dark or Renaissance, one century had its own style. Yeah. And you could always harken back. Yeah. And a new style that came in, it would take many decades to take hold. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci is to a large degree a Gothic kind of guy, because Gothicism in the Middle Ages was still on its way out. You can see a lot of elements of the Gothic style in his stuff and other people. He was very early of the Renaissance. Then the Renaissance started beginning. Michelangelo was more wild and crazy, and that just segued right into the Baroque, where things got even wilder and crazier. But they did some wild. It wasn't all so perfect and balanced. There was a lot of wild, crazy things with monsters and weird stuff.
Gargoyles.
Yeah. And there was this fantastic garden carved out of rock, and it looks like all these weird monsters. It looks like something out of Salvador Dali. In fact, it inspired Salvador Dali. He went there and
made it. It's in Italy?
It's in Italy. Yeah. I want to see that in Bomarzo.
Where was Da Vinci?
Sacrobosco. Well, Da Vinci came from Tuscany. Oh, Tuscany. Florence. Yeah. A lot of the northern Italy. Yeah. But I've been watching some Da Vinci stuff. I've been touching base with him
Yeah.
But there's a new theory I wanted to mention about the Mona Lisa. Always the mystery of the Mona Lisa and all that Dan Brown stuff.
Lisa del Giocondo.
Yeah. Well, they're saying now this, and I think they're right with the new research, that the Mona Lisa is not the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
It was not the Lisa. He did do a painting or started one, or finished it. They only found the drawing of Lisa Giocondo, who was the wife of who makes fine clothing,
a clothier.
Yeah, and
haberdasher.
Yeah, the material.
Yeah.
And they said it was his wife, and that anyway, made drapery and fine stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was supposed to be, if you do a painting for a guy like that, you would show off his wares in the painting. You would show the woman in a bright, beautiful dress, and this one does not. She's more somber. And they found records of where Leonardo, the Giocondo was another painting, and they have a drawing. It's a profile, but they found records where he did the Mona Lisa for one of the de Medicis, the big powerful family, Giorgio de Medici, and he was kind of a playboy type. He was a brother of the Pope, and but he had a lot of women. He fooled around and had a lot of fun. But anyway, he got one of them pregnant.
Yeah.
And then she died in childbirth or right after childbirth. Yeah. And she had asked her midwife to kill the baby. So she couldn't stand the scandal. Anyway, the midwife did not kill the baby and gave it to the church, but it put a coin with a Medici's picture on it with the baby, so they knew it came from the Medici family.
All right.
And the priest, anyway, Giorgio de Medici ended up taking, as they often did, he would take credit for the baby and raise him.
Yeah.
They would, it happened to Leonardo. Yeah. Leonardo was a bastard child, as they would say, or illegitimate, and his father was a pretty prominent lawyer.
Adoptive father,
No, Leonardo.
Real father.
Yeah. Well, I'll get to that. Anyway, Giorgio de Medici came to he was a friend of Leonardo, and Leonardo was working in the Vatican at that time, and so was Giorgio was living there. His brother was taking care of him and set him up in the Vatican. Hey, friends, family, we got to be good to each other. Anyway, he asked Leonardo to paint a picture of the ideal mother. So it could be for his son. As he grew up, he would have a painting and call it his mother.
Yes.
And Leonardo, he said, use your imagination.
Yeah.
And Leonardo, who was also illegitimate, his mother was a servant in his father's house that he'd gotten pregnant. And she ended up, they married her off to some local artisan. She was always, lower class. But he knew her as a child, and in the town of Vinci, he ended up with using his memories of his mother to paint the Mona Lisa, and that's the secret of the smile. It's the smile of a mother and the knowingness and all the looking at her son. Yeah. So, folks, that might be this. It feels to me right, and there's a good documentary. It's on my Facebook page, just a little bit. Yeah. I posted it yesterday, I think. Just a little bit down, you can see it, called Leonardo's Secret, and it feels right. You get a shiver.
Yeah. It starts to make sense.
Yeah.
More of it makes sense than the typical.
And rather than he was cross-dressing, they always said he was like. He was painting himself as he would be as a woman. And I was kind of believing that, but I wasn't sure. But she does look like Leonardo. She has the same kind of face as the images of Leonardo, that kind of thin eyes and thin nose. And anyway, that makes sense. It's his mother. Yeah. And that's a great mystery. It feels right. Yeah. And that knowing smile is the smile of a mother. Yeah. The great wisdom, motherly wisdom, smiling at her son. Yeah. And it's looking directly at you, and it fits the bill. Yeah. And they used to keep records and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's records of him asking Leonardo to do that painting.
Yeah.
And then Leonardo gave away
Yeah.
to his assistant. When they split up, he had a gay relationship with his assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was getting old, and he went to live with the King of France, and he gave some of his art to his assistant.
Yeah.
And it's listed in his estate as having La Gioconda.
Yeah.
And his stuff, he never had the Mona Lisa. Leonardo kept the Mona Lisa because Giorgio de' Medici died before he could finish the painting.
And that is
so he didn't deliver it.
Yeah.
And so he kept it. That's one reason why he kept it. It was his mother.
Also, that is why it is in France and not in Italy. Almost all of his great works, DaVinci
some of them. Yeah. He took them to France with him. But also, if you're worried about the Last Supper falling apart and crumbling and all that, the beautiful thing is, there's another documentary. They made a perfect copy of it. Yeah. Leonardo himself and his assistants, under his direction, made a beautiful oil copy. The other one was messed up because he tried to paint oil on plaster and it wouldn't stick. He was experimenting.
Fresco, they call it.
Yeah, he was trying to do a fresco that he could take more time with.
Yeah.
He liked to take his time and do details. Where Michelangelo did the Sistine Chapel, you can look up close. You can tell he was working fast. It was brilliant. You'd put the cartoon up there, and then they'd pounce it. They'd outline it with these little wheels.
Yeah.
And he'd have the cartoon, the outline, and you'd draw drawings of all the different parts of it, and get up on that scaffold and put it up there, and then they'd have to mix up some plaster, I don't know if it was plaster of Paris or fresco stuff, and put it on there, and you have to paint it before it dries.
Yes.
And his stuff is quick. Yeah. His stuff, it looks like comic book art.
Yeah.
Really, and it even superhero stuff. Yeah, his stuff is very much like comic book artist work. Like
Roy Lichtenstein.
Yeah, no, not that bad. Anyway, no, it's beautiful stuff, but it's painted fast and swirling. And
I have a funny story about the Sistine Chapel. I went to the Sistine Chapel, and they have signs up. You
been there?
It's a church.
My parents.
It's a chapel.
Yeah,
I've been there. And what happened was they actually have signs. And it's they don't like you talking there, because it's a holy place. It's a church.
Yeah.
So, but everyone's, there. All the tourists are there looking at it. And they want you to crank your head up and look at it and be quiet. Okay, now, of course, you're all talking. Everyone's talking. And
after, get people boards to lay
and then
on.
after a while, do
they have pews?
No, I got to tell you, no, it's just walking around.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, what's really weird is that they, it's really funny, is that they tell you everyone not to talk, and then everyone starts talking, and then it gets to be a din, and then they say, shh. And then everyone gets quiet again. And then after a few minutes, they all start talking again.
Yes, a padre. Yeah. I'm sorry, a padre.
No, but the thing I wanted to point out is, like you said, they have signs up. People are laying down on the ground, looking up at the ceiling, and they don't want you to do that because it's a holy place and you're not supposed to do that. But then I thought to myself, hey!
Renaissance people used to do that.
Yeah, I said, Michelangelo spent this whole
2 years
on his back doing this. It's an homage to him to get it down on the floor and look up.
When will you make an end? I painted a mural at St. Barnabas Church, my church, and I finished about 2/3 of it, and I didn't get around to finishing it, and I was putting it off, and the priest there, Yuli Gooch, he kept saying, "When will you make an end?" When it is finished. That movie with
the Agony and X.
Yeah.
Rex Harrison.
Rex Harrison puts on his girdle and goes off to fight a war. He's the Pope. Popes fought wars back.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Yeah. Irving Streiber.
Very realistic.
Yeah. Charlton Heston was in it as Michelangelo.
That's right.
And also, I that's the last really great art I haven't seen is the Last Supper, because I was in Milan.
It's easy to see. It's so far away.
You have to go to a place, and a lot of times that place is closed because they're always working on the Last Supper, and they were working on it the day I was in Milan.
But let me tell you about the Last Supper.
I've seen all the other.
But let me tell you, Last Supper. It's so sad to see its ghostly image all falling apart.
Yeah. But
there's another copy done by Leonardo and his assistants, and it is gorgeous, and it is in Belgium.
Yeah.
The king of France, or one of those kings, admired it so much he commissioned Leonardo to make him a copy.
Oh, there you go.
And it's in a convent or a monastery in Belgium, and most people have overlooked it. And it's in. I'll try to repost that.
Did you go see it?
No, I found it on the internet. Found it on the internet. But it's in a out of the way place, kind of a village and a monastery, and these things quite often, these historical things are in plain sight and are overlooked.
Yeah,
like the portrait of Mozart done the year before he died. But this thing is absolutely gorgeous and in fine detail, and you know what it's much better than the other one.
Yeah.
But you can tell it's exactly the same picture.
Yeah.
And they work from the same cartoon.
Yeah.
The word cartoon, by the way, comes from these old times when you would do a drawing before the painting.
Yeah.
And that is the original meaning of cartoon.
Oh.
And it's an outline of drawing. And it is outlines of lines, and you kind of fill it in with color later, but that's how the look of cartoons started. It has that same look because it's line artwork.
It's a Dutch word, cartoon.
It is?
I'm sure it is. Oh,
I thought it was an Italian. Maybe so.
Italian.
Cartoon. It does sound kind of Dutchy.
Well, the way it's spelled.
Hey, Dutch.
Whenever you see a double vowel, it's usually Dutch.
Cartoon.
Yeah, like Van Allen probably had 3 or 4 A's in it before.
Van Hollen.
Before you came.
We're actually Van Halens or Van Hollens.
Yeah.
I get so tired of people saying, "Hey, Eddie Van Halen." He just died.
He just died. Yeah.
But it was so frustrating.
My condolences to your family.
Was Well, he's a good guy and he's a great guitar player. But you grow up in your art and trying to work and get your name out there, and then some other people suddenly
take your name.
Yeah, it's suddenly, hey, Eddie Van Halen.
Well,
but you're used to having a name that nobody else has. If your name was Smith,
no big deal. Yeah,
you have to take on a middle name to make it special.
My real name is Kravitz, as everyone knows. And what's weird is that then Lenny Kravitz,
Gladys Kravitz,
because she made it. Then Duddy Kravitz from the Richard Dreyfuss movie. But then Lenny Kravitz really put it over the edge. But I like it. I tell you why. Because his contribution to Jewish culture is now people can pronounce the name Kravitz and spell the name Kravitz. So I don't have any problem anymore. No. So if someone says, I don't, what's your name again? I said, Kravitz, like Lenny Kravitz. Oh, like Lenny Kravitz. I'll remember it now.
And it's not just a sound effect when you put your hands in a bag of potato chips. Kravitz.
Kravitz. I've seen my name misspelled so many times. One person actually put craves it. And I thought that was kind of a cool, of your misspellings. Yeah, I crave it all the time.
Have you ever found old medieval versions of it?
I think I said this once before that I saw it once. My uncle told me, whose name is Kravitz. He told me that the real Polish spelling is Krawicz, and I thought that's Polish. No, it's Polish. But what's really funny is that I said, that's a cool way of spelling. It's still pronounced Kravitz, but it's spelled a different way from the English Anglicization version of it. And I said, I'm going to spell my name like that from here on out. He goes, you'll never pronounce it right again. Just leave it the way it is.
Well, the thing about Polish and...
it means tailor.
Yeah, and Polish Jews, it was so cool. They were very working class. In America, we say, Jews are always rich and lawyers and all. And you meet...
And then you meet a poor guy like me.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to talk about... what's our mutual friend who was in the Holocaust?
Bud Brodecki.
Bud Brodecki. I don't know if he's still alive.
He's not with us anymore.
Oh, you heard it?
No, I was actually at his funeral.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was about...
he was up in Maryland when he died, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was living with his daughter. His daughter, yeah.
But Bud was quite a fixture around Richmond for many years.
Great? Yeah.
I include him in the book, by the way.
He was great.
Yeah, he was great. And, but he was from Poland, and he said, "What's the big deal about a Jew farming? We all farm in Poland. We love the land.
First time I met him, I told him my name was Kravitz. He goes, "Kravitz, that means tailor." And I said, "Yes, it does." First time anyone, because he spoke Polish.
I never would have thought of it.
So he said, "There's actually signs up in Poland that says Kravitz." And then you go there for
tailor.
get your clothing done. Now,
the guy sits up on a table with his legs folded. I don't know why they always.
That's why I'm so. That's why I look.
The old Jewish tailors used to sit on a high table with their legs crossed and work that way.
Yeah,
I don't know why. Well, I guess because they had to spread out all their stuff.
It's a great clothing is so important as far as how you present yourself.
But why?
That's why I try to make an effort. Yeah. At least when I'm on television. See, you're a good-looking man. You look good in anything. I have to work hard.
When I get the weight off, I'm a pretty good-looking. I was a pretty boy. My aunts called me pretty boy. You're my pretty boy.
You have a pretty face.
Yeah. But then I got fat at age 6. Something happened, and I think we were abducted by aliens, and they stuck pins in me. I just ballooned at age 6, and when going to school. And I had to fight that for the next 8 or 9 years.
Kids are.
And then when I was in high school, I started to grow out of it, and I was starting to look kind of pretty again. Yeah. But in my mind, I was still hideous. Yeah. And I would. I hung around with the retarded kids in the freshman year. I was so frightened of being in a crowd. I was so frightened of being in a crowd.
Yeah.
I had terrible agoraphobia. Although I could get up on a stage and do that, you know, kind of like Michael Jackson. You get up and do that, and then you get off the stage and you're afraid of the world. But I went through a lot of that, and because of the way kids started treating me when I gained weight, and they were, it was terrible. And you'd develop a shell, but I was good at drawing, and I would shine, and I was pretty smart at history and stuff like that.
I don't think schools do a very good job as far as they don't let you do.
Society.
They don't let you. Well, I'm talking about
when you're a kid. They get into society.
They don't. They don't seem to work on your strengths. They seem to say, like when I was growing up, I wasn't very good at sports because I was usually the smallest kid around. But I was athletic in my own way, but I wasn't as good as the bigger kids. Yeah. So thus I was, and it's awful because. It's just this daily humiliation every day. I mean, we wouldn't. If that happened to an adult, we would be mortified. But when it happens to a kid, that's just.
I kept envying Ben Franklin and the old people in the old days because Ben Franklin, you hear the stories. He had some schooling, but then he went to work for his brother at age 12 in the printing at the printers.
Yeah,
he went on from there.
Right.
You at the age of puberty, you entered the world. And you started working somewhere or apprenticing, and you were actually kind of in the real world instead of this thing called high school, which is very artificial.
It's like Lord of the Flies.
Right. And
we're all piggy.
And you're in this group or that group or that group, or you're either in the fine-looking people, or you're in the kind of the nerdy type or the weird guys.
I remember a movie called.
I was in all those groups at different times.
Yeah, I remember a movie called Carrie, and it was all about
Carrie, about
this little girl being bullied, and she brings the whole thing.
That's the one thing by Stephen King I really like.
But you know what the craziest thing about that is when they were saying it, I remember when that movie was a big hit and the book was a hit. All these bullies I knew said, "Yeah, I identify with Carrie a lot." I said, "Hell no, you will. You're more like those kids that were terrorizing her."
Well, they say there's a thing on the internet. This guy that did these documentaries, he's saying even the beautiful people had their inside had insecurities. Especially,
that's what I've heard.
He's talking about from the 50s to the 60s and the social change that happened, and we're still feeling it. It was traumatic.
Yeah.
Although on the exterior, we looked like we had everything.
Yes.
And then our parents, or my parents, were from the Depression. You say, "Oh, you don't know how good you have it," you know.
Yeah, you live like a king.
Yeah.
You look like a prince. Oh, before we leave,
what else? Yes, let's do that.
Last week we were supposed to do imitations of
we don't have
FDR.
To do, yes, we can
FDR
end where we like it because we're plugged in. I think we're still plugged in.
We're doing fine.
My friend, is that Eleanor up there?
What was that?
That's Eleanor. My word, when you want to do FDR, you start with Thurston Howell III, and work backwards to we have nothing to fear but fear itself. Do we? And you're running for office.
This is a day that will live in infamy.
For me. I hate war. But we're going to war anyway.
We're supposed to do this dueling FDR. So.
Churchill and I have already worked it out. Yes. Yes. We have, Mr. President. Yeah. Yes. We will. I need that hat. We will fight them on the beaches and on the Heathrows. And we will act like Ebenezer Scrooge. We will not give a penny for tribute or whatever it is we're supposed to be saying, but Hitler and his gnarls and gangster. Hey, you look like pretty much a gangster yourself.
Right, guys.
Hey, you know, they could have never had the gangster movement in the 19th century with these hats.
Yeah.
Imagine going around with a machine gun and go,
Penguin pulls it off. Pulls off a top. I
got the Batmobile. Well, forget about that.
We'll do that next week. Anyway, why don't you play us out?
Oh, we haven't played nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to
do.
I want to find something. Awful. That's a Kyoto.
Yeah.
Here, Jonah, grab a drumstick. Quasimodo got into the act. And the echo.
This is Van Allen's Attic. My name's
Van
Kaye
Allen.
Lazar, and this is the wonderful Mr. Keith Van Allen.
Masquerading as Buster Keaton.
All right. See you next time.
Yeah. Get out of here. End video. Yes, end video. Hit end.